Okay, so here we go. For those of you part of the trailer reaction livestream, we broke a record on the channel with over 23,000 peak concurrent viewers. That is absolutely mental for a channel my size. We're now hitting trending, and it's an absolute dream. Thank you so much. So this movie takes place a couple years after The Last Jedi, or at least, those are the rumors. So we start with Rey running, and she's training, obviously. I think she's either being trained by Leia, or maybe Force Ghost Luke, because the helmet from Leia's speeder drops to the floor, and the planet kind of looks like the forest moon of Endor. We see her deflect a blaster bolt from a training droid. This is the same droid that many Jedi have used throughout the years, especially the same one that Luke used in A New Hope. Either this is Rey, or it's Leia in a flashback scene training on the forest moon of Endor, being trained by Luke, which would make sense that Luke would train her after the Death Star exploded. However, I do think it's Rey. We then hear Finn say it's an instinct. We transition scenes to Rey inside either a ship or something maybe on Jakku, where we first saw her in The Force Awakens. Maybe she's gone back there to find something that she hid or to learn more about her origins. However, what I really think it is, I think it could be the Death Star, as we see the same tractor beam node that Obi-Wan stood on in A New Hope, which makes me think that this could either be Yavin or it's the forest moon of Endor, seeing as how Death Star parts could be remade to fit the same purpose for the first or second one, it doesn't really matter. Finn looks through binoculars and says the Force brought us together. He's probably talking to Rey. Then we hear Poe's voice saying that we're not alone, as we see the rebellion has grown much bigger now, clearly having heard of Luke's feats against the First Order. We also see Lando sitting there, so he's probably telling them stories about his time during the rebellion with Han, Luke, and Leia, and of course Vader and the Emperor. Next we see the Corellian Corvette giving a callback to A New Hope. So this next shot is the Death Star, and we see Rey on it. As she says, people keep telling her that they know who she is, they know her. So she's reached celebrity status at this point pretty much, and she's super famous and everyone knows her as Luke's protege, or maybe the Last Jedi even. Now during the live stream, a lot of fans said that Luke's saber is distressed just like Kylo's, or should I say now, Rey's saber is distressed just like Kylo's. It's not actually, it's just the rain and water reacting with the saber, which we saw in the early Clone Wars show with Anakin versus Asajj. I love this. This is super cool. It's something that I always had envisioned for Vader Episode 2 before we even made Vader Episode 1 from the concept art. Then, of course, we get the super heroic, or should I say anti-hero heroic shot of Kylo Ren, who's just looking like he's about to take someone down. Rey says no one knows her, where Kylo says, but I do. So I guess in that sense, they're talking to each other somewhere in the film. Or maybe they have another Force connection. Next, we get this ice planet, which still has me confused as to why we don't see the reflection of the TIE fighters on the water. So it might be because the planet is like Asgard from Marvel, and they're flying to it, or because they're actually underneath the ice somehow. Hollowed out ice, maybe. The part that got my reaction was the Emperor's throne, or what I think is the Emperor's throne. This must be where he's been hanging out, or maybe it's another one of the thrones from the unknown regions where he's been ruling since his return of the Jedi, or even sometime before. Heck, maybe it's even Snoke's throne that we saw in The Force Awakens. Now, this throne is a really cool callback. It's actually from the concept art for Palpatine's throne from Return of the Jedi. So to see that being made in this film is an awesome callback. And a big up for all the original trilogy fans out there, who actually got to see it in theaters. Now, Palpatine's voice then says, "Long have I waited," while his Super Star Destroyer just re-emerges from the ice and snow of the planet, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be of course, it's called Kijimi. Okay, now we get basically the part where the concept artist asks JJ, alright, how many ships do you want? And he just says, yes. I'm not going to name all of them because I honestly don't know, unless I go through all of these on Google and try to figure it out with the Encyclopedia of Star Wars or Visual Guide or something like that, but it's just such a small detail. From the ones that I do know, here we have the Millennium Falcon, then the Last Jedi bombers above it. Next to that, we've got the Mon Calamari cruiser, then the Ghost from Rebels, Han's freighter, if you remember from The Force Awakens. Then the one that caught my eye was this one, which looks like the LAAT gunship from the Clone Wars. However, it's a bit different, so it might be the Halo, I'm not really sure. And now you're coming together, says Palpatine. Here we see Rey, Poe, and Chewie, and the picture looks all nice and happy, but I think this is really the second act of the film where they embark on their quest. Now, look, In the middle there, on the dashboard, if we can call it that, of the Falcon, lies a compass or map or something. The way to find some spot in the galaxy, maybe, or something that opens up a certain weapon. Perhaps in the unknown regions or somewhere. Looks like they have possession of it, and now it's time to find it. Rey and Kylo keep fighting, a Super Star Destroyer blows up, then we see 3PO getting a procedure. Now this one is a very interesting scene, okay, so bear with me, there's a lot of information coming. Looks like he's getting procedure in this droid-looking factory, and before we continue with him, check it out. We see what I think is either the medical droid from Vader's chamber, this is called a 21B med droid, or it's the med droid that took care of Luke in The Empire Strikes Back, after the Wampa cut him up. Or, it could just be another 21B medical droid. Either way, I think that's a cool little Easter egg. Then we see a B-1 battle droid from the Clone Wars belonging to the Separatists. Now, this is when I saw this, I freaked out during the live stream, and of course you can know why, because this is a big callback to the prequels. This is cool. Palpatine says your coming together is your undoing, so them meeting, I guess, will be their end. As 3PO gets an operation on his circuits, as they ask, "What are you doing?" when he's just blankly staring at them, he says, "Taking one last look, sir, at my friends." Where I think they joined a different clip of him with R2 in that scene, because there he's standing, and then when he's in the chair, he's not. I hope R2 will be in there. He needs to be utilized a lot more. There's also a theory that the entire Star Wars movies and franchise is taken from the perspective of R2-D2. And that was actually supposed to be something that was originally supposed to happen with George Lucas's Episode 4, A New Hope, or just Star Wars in general, as it was called, where he had the Wills, which were these ancient beings, these sentient deities, these godlike beings almost, that were watching over the galaxy, and they saw the events of the Skywalkers. That's why Star Wars always says, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Now, obviously, what they're doing to C-3PO, we won't know for sure, but it results in the red eyes from the last trailer footage we got from D23. So clearly they need to either bring out some memory that's been reseeded within him, or put a whole new chip in his brain so that he can decipher something or do a certain task for them. What that task is, I don't really know, but I may have the answer as we go further into this breakdown. Confront fear is the destiny of a Jedi, says Luke, which seems very different from the Luke that decided to run away from it all in The Last Jedi, so I'm glad that JJ has Luke Skywalker back, even if it's just a Force ghost or a flashback, or at least get him believing in the old ways of good old Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi and before, where, after everything that Vader did, he still believed that there was good in him, and was willing to die to bring the good out of him. Chewie, Finn, and Poe run through a First Order base, or something, as we see some happy clips. This scene here is the Resistance running on space horses on a Super Star Destroyer or regular Class 1 Star Destroyer, at least it seems. Your destiny, Luke says, as we see Kylo and Rey square up on either the first Death Star or the second one. I'm not quite sure which one it is. It could be on Yavin, or it could be on the Force Moon of Endor. Now, in the concept art for The Force Awakens, we got these images here, which, as you can see, was going to start the film off with Rey or someone diving into the ocean here and ending up in the throne room from the Death Star's remnants. It could be here that Rey and Kylo meet to fight, but to be honest, I find it rather odd that they just meet here to fight. Clearly something brought them there, which leads me to believe that they're on a hunt for something, which could be this thing here in the Falcon that we explained and saw earlier. This leads them maybe to where Palpatine really is. Finn is just screaming for Rey as usual. There's nothing really new there. Now, this scene is interesting. This to me looks like a team-up, but it's not. I'll explain why. If they're trying to destroy Vader's helmet, they wouldn't have hit the base. If they're trying to destroy his helmet and teaming up, they'd be facing the artifact, not facing each other. Look at how their feet are positioned. The whole thing looks like they swiped at each other and missed or deflected with their sabers, and it ended up smashing the podium that the Vader helmet was on. Now look at Rey's left hand. She is holding a dagger. This is where things take a big spin. Funny enough, I just made this video, which you guys need to watch after this. It'll explain everything about this dagger and where it's from. The dagger, in my opinion, could be the dagger from Mortis. Now, on Mortis, from the Clone Wars, was the father, the son, and the daughter. The son was the pure embodiment of the dark side, of darkness itself, and the daughter was the light, while the father was the balance between the two. When the son went kind of bonkers and tried to rule all living things, as of course a dark side entity would, he decided the only way to strip his son of his powers was to kill himself, and the only way he could die was with the dagger of Mortis. So he stabbed himself, and thus the son was mortal. Anakin ignited his saber through his chest from the back, and that was the end of that. But that's not it. The sun can be believed to be embodied somewhat by the Grand Inquisitor in Rebels. Filoni and lead character designer Killian Plunkett created a character with an unintentional resemblance to the sun, known as the Grand Inquisitor. Filoni believed that the close resemblance made sense, as the sun's arc in the Clone Wars was metaphorically intended to represent both the past and the future within the Star Wars lore. So I'm thinking the dagger in Rey's hand might be following purpose to the same type of idea that the dagger of Mortis serves, and possibly the inscriptions on either the ancient dagger from the unknown regions or maybe something else require someone to decipher and read it. This is where maybe C-3PO's new programming comes in. Kylo is wearing his reconstructed mask once again with all the red. Now, this scene is a quick one that someone mentioned in the stream. Poe and Finn, with C-3PO behind them, is shooting a projector or something. And if we zoom in, we see in the reflection of both of their eyes that a lightsaber is being used. So, are they watching a hologram of maybe Anakin or Obi-Wan, or maybe someone with a blue lightsaber from the prequels or originals? Or are they just watching Rey? If so, then what's with the projector light behind them? Then we see just a massive fleet of Super Star Destroyers, TIE Fighters, and the Empire just looking reborn. Kylo here looks like he's about to die. I don't know, he looks pretty good here. He looks like he's about to do something righteous and kill Palpatine or whoever he's going up against. Maybe it's just Dark Rey, or hey, maybe it's just Rey in general. Also, this in the background kind of looks like an Imperial probe droid, you know, the ones we saw from The Empire Strikes Back. Either way, he looks like he's had enough and he's about to use that Skywalker blood for something other than just losing to Rey all the time. Kylo is my absolute favorite character of the sequels, so I hope we see him in the limelight. Rey backs away from the Emperor. She's obviously afraid, her lightsaber on her belt, and maybe the dagger or a blaster on the other side of it. The Emperor, or who I believe is the Emperor, seems to be walking towards her with a mech suit or something as he towers over her, and we can kind of see that he's taking one step and then another step. The seat he's sitting on or the apparatus that he's using seems to be all tubed up and cyborg-like, much like Grievous or Vader. Now, as we know, Palpatine created all of those monsters with his technology, so it shouldn't be a surprise that he'd use the best technology for himself. He's either too old to move around, or he's just super injured from something, maybe the fall, perhaps. How he survived, well, I've made so many videos on that, but I will say that maybe it's something from him cloning himself, or if it's the original version of him, then maybe the Royal Red Guard saved him after he fell. This would explain him using Snoke like an avatar to his aid, since he was too old to walk around himself. This would also explain why he was so obsessed with Vader, and it would explain how he had the ring from beneath Vader's castle and why they were inscribed with the Dwarti. Now, the Dwarti, you guys have heard me say it a million times, just say it for those who don't know, those were the golden statues from Palpatine's office in Revenge of the Sith. The last line is with Rey, Luke, and Leia as she's crying, holding her saber, clearly emotional over something. Maybe, she sees Kylo sacrificing himself, or Kylo fighting against the Emperor, or maybe Luke and Leia showing up as Force ghosts to help them. Either way, she's tearing up as we hear Luke say, "The Force will be with you," and Leia saying, "Always." Now, I've made some videos from the original scripts from Return of the Jedi. Those are really cool. You guys should check them out. Yoda and Obi-Wan were supposed to show up to actually confront the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. So there's a lot more of a use of Force ghosts in George Lucas's original script. So the fact that George Lucas was sought out for consultation and for writing credits or to help with this film means that maybe they're using some of his original ideas, as he would have probably pitched them, I hope. Then the trailer ends, and well, now we gotta wait 2 months to see it. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Please let me know if I missed anything. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to see. I hope that we see Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, return. I'm pretty stoked for it. I already got my tickets, and I'm ready to roll. Thanks for watching the video, everyone. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Now, fulfill